Avaz's mind crystallized with absolute clarity. This monster, this Makatil, could not reach Chambil, could not reach his father, could not reach his people. Behind Avaz stood everything he loved, his homeland, his kingdom, his bloodline. There would be no negotiation, no mercy, no passage. This giant would die here, in this cursed desert, tonight. Avaz straightened in his saddle and spoke, his voice cutting through the darkness like a blade. The Gorigly you want to hunt is my father. I am Avaz. Chambil is my kingdom, and you will come no further.
Makotil stared down at the young warrior. He'd heard tales of Avaz, whispers of a prince who fought like a storm. But this couldn't be him. "I've heard of Avaz," Makotil rumbled, skepticism dripping from every word. You're nothing like the warrior they describe. You're too young, too ordinary." His laughter echoed across the sands, but Avaz didn't waver, didn't blink. Instead, he smiled, a predator's smile. "You don't believe me? Then fight me, old man. Cross blades with me, and when you're dying, you'll know exactly who I am."
Makotil accepted, and so it began. Two warriors, two masters of death, both armored, both armed. Makotil wielded his gurs, a war mace that weighed 450 kilograms, a weapon that had crushed kingdoms. He swung it with the force of a falling mountain. The air screamed. Avaz raised his shield. The impact was apocalyptic. The sound echoed for miles. When the dust cleared, Makotil's mace lay shattered on the ground, pieces of metal scattered like broken dreams. The giant stared, unable to comprehend. No shield should have held, no man should have survived.
Rage exploded in Makotil's chest. He reached for his second gurs, this one 900 kilograms, heavy enough to crack fortress walls. He roared and brought it down with both hands, putting his legendary strength behind it. The earth shook, but again, Avaz's shield held. And again, the mace shattered. Metal fragments rained down like deadly hail. Makotil couldn't believe it. His weapons, his pride, breaking like toys. He grabbed his final mace, 1,300 kilograms of pure devastation. "Now you die, boy," he screamed. The final blow came down and met the same fate. Destroyed, obliterated, impossible.
Avaz drew his sword, the Isfahan blade, diamond-edged, venom-kissed. It sang as it left its scabbard, a sound like death's own whisper. The moonlight caught the blade, and for a moment it seemed to glow. Makotil, the undefeated warrior, the giant who had never known fear, felt something cold touch his spine. This was no ordinary prince. This was death itself, in armor, with a blade. Avaz raised his sword high, and in one perfect, terrible arc, he brought it down. The blade passed through Makotil's armor, through flesh, through bone, as if they were nothing. The giant's eyes went wide, understanding coming too late.
Makotil split in two. The legendary warrior, the undefeated champion, the monster who'd planned to murder Gorogly, fell. His massive body crashed to the earth in two pieces, blood painting the desert red. The sound like a collapsing building. Avaz stood over the corpse, his blade dripping crimson, his breath coming hard. He stared down at what he'd done, at the giant who would never reach Chambil, never threaten his father, never harm his kingdom. "I've never fought anyone like you," Avaz whispered to the dead warrior. A moment of respect for a worthy enemy. Then he turned away, mounted Gurkak, and rode toward his destiny. As Avaz rode forward on Gearcock, leaving Makotel's corpse to the vultures, the road ahead split. Not into two paths, not three, 24 roads, each one leading to a different city, a labyrinth of choices stretching before him. But Avaz didn't hesitate, didn't doubt. He chose the path straight ahead and rode, his instincts, his destiny guiding him. Then, in the distance, movement. Not one traveler, not a caravan, an army, soldiers, hundreds of them, coming straight toward him. Their commander saw him first, and recognition dawned like horror. That warrior coming from Makotel's direction, that must be Gorogli himself, the commander shouted to his men.
"He must have defeated our master," the soldiers cried in fear and awe. "If he killed Makotel, we stand no chance." But their commander was a warrior too. He wouldn't run, wouldn't retreat. "Form ranks," he commanded. "If this is Gorogli, we die with honor. If it's another, we claim his head." And so they prepared. Hundreds of soldiers, spears, swords, shields, an ocean of steel and hatred. And riding toward them, one man. Avaz could have turned back, could have found another road, but that was not in his blood, not in his training, not in his soul. To flee was shame, to retreat was death. He drew his blood-stained blade and charged, alone, against an army.
The armies collided, and chaos, pure, brutal chaos, erupted. Avaz's blade became a whirlwind of death. Every swing took a life, every thrust found a heart. Soldiers fell around him like wheat before a scythe. But there were too many, far too many. For every man he killed, two more took his place. Spears found gaps in his armor, blades cut his flesh. Blood, his own blood, began to flow. His armor grew heavy with crimson. His movement slowed. Pain screamed through every nerve. And finally, exhausted, wounded, nearly dead, Avaz began to fall. He leaned forward in his saddle, darkness creeping at the edges of his vision, about to tumble to the ground, to die among his enemies.
But Gearcock, the legendary horse, sensed his master's peril. Avaz grabbed desperately at Gearcock's mane, his fingers tangling in the coarse hair, the only thing keeping him from death's embrace. The horse felt the weight shift, felt the blood of his master, and understood. Gearcock didn't fight the soldiers. Instead, he ran, like lightning given form, like wind made flesh. The legendary steed burst through the enemy ranks, trampling anyone foolish enough to stand in his way. Soldiers tried to stop him, failed, died. Gearcock created a path through sheer force and impossible speed, and then they were through. Free. The army behind them, the legendary horse, had saved his master's life again.